holy name. And then there will be intimacy involved in the development of this process, because you just can't have a baby and leave the baby to tend for himself. It just won't happen. That with the development of intimacy in the process, one cannot help but to go back to how we once were. In Genesis, when, you know, I've been trying to wrap my brain around this, because the first man didn't come as a baby. The first man came as a man created in the image of God, in his likeness. And the first woman came out of man. And so the stages of baby development, intimacy, the walking process through life, the learning process through life, the nurturing process, all of that seemed to have been lost because there were some things perhaps taken for granted. Maybe God thought that there were some things that man at this state, with all of the care that he had given him in the garden, should have known some things. Should have known some things. And so the attention that he would ordinarily receive as a baby, he didn't get. And so there entered something else into the mix, something else into the process. There was the suggestions of the serpent that you know, even when you've been developed as a baby from your mother and from your father, and sometimes just one parent, single parent, doesn't matter what the family dynamic is. When you know you come out of a loving relationship at home, the serpent, Satan, can still make some suggestions that will get you off track. I want you to try to get this in. Now they had intimacy with God. In fact, Adam talked with God every day. He came in coolness and talked to him. But it didn't prevent a distraction from the enemy to throw a curve in there and suggest some things that was not so. And then when Adam and Eve, some would want to suggest that Eve put him up to it and got him off track. I go along with it. All depends on what day it is. Yes, sir. When my wife is rubbing that nerve, and you know, my theology changes, and I take on the theology of an Adam. You see, the woman you gave me. Yeah. But I think that there's plenty of blame to go around. That it ain't what Eve did, and it's not what Adam did, it's what they did. And together they were disobedient to God, and the image changed. The image changed. The likeness changed. That God could not in Adam or Eve see the true reflection of himself. He could not see it because envy had set in, and God and envy are not partners, and jealousy set in, and all kind of other ungodly like behaviors had set in. You see, that's what sin is. Sin, when we become disobedient to God, distorts the image of God in our lives. And God cannot see the image of himself where there is sin. And sin separates us from God. And anybody here want to blame it on Adam and Eve? No, that's Adam and Eve. All of us have had a chance to be obedient to God, and we have failed. Therefore, when we when we take on the characteristics of the suggestions made to us by Satan, we, like Adam and Eve, become distorted in the image of God. And so nobody in here, I'll repeat that, nobody in here can ever say that you're not in line with Adam and Eve, because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. All of you who sit in here and brag about what you do not do, that's wonderful, and I'm glad that you don't do some things. But by the mere fact that you bragging about and boasting about what it is you are not doing, you are robbing God of his glory. And so this time around, God said, I'm starting from scratch. I'm not going to start in the middle of the game. Then I'm going to birth myself into the world as a baby. And I'm not going to miss any steps in the process. And when I come, I'm going to put myself at the mercies of the people that I call to nurture me. And so the image of God then is restored in the Messiah. That the image of God that was lost in Adam and Eve is given back, it's found again, is renewed, is reconnected in Jesus. That God wrapped God's self up in flesh and penalized himself. It wasn't just a penalty of the flesh, but it's a penalty of his power. That whenever God wraps himself up in flesh, God takes upon himself limitations. You know, there's one of these times where you hear people talking about, I wish I had time to talk about this. There's one of these times where I really wish I had time. Because there's so many people who think that when God came in Jesus, he did not have limitations. But you cannot be in the flesh without limitations. That there are times when your mind says one thing, but your body says something else. And so God so loved us until God was ready to reestablish himself with us in baby Jesus, and at the same time limit himself. The power that he had. There was no way that Jesus could be everywhere at the same time. And he had to count on the God who sent him. I wish he could be everywhere at the same time. That was made Martha and Mary mad. We sent for you. You delayed your coming. No, I didn't delay my coming. No, I got to travel by the same means as everybody else. And so the baby that was born in Bethlehem is a flesh and blood baby that God has sent to us to say, in essence, I'm giving you another chance through Jesus Christ. That's what he's saying. I'm giving you another chance. I'm ready to start over in my creation. No, I'm not going to tear what has happened down. Follow me now. I'm not going to tear the past down. I'm just going to find a fresh starting point. And from this point on, we'll have to do better. Come here, let me talk to you. That there are some people who really try to act like they don't have a past. You get religion and you start to try to play like what happened in your yesterday did not happen. Let me just say this to you, the devil is a liar. If you are anything at all today, it is because you have learned how to embrace your yesterday. You ought to touch somebody and tell them, I got a story to tell. You ought to tell them, I'm not ashamed of my past.